Hi everyone, welcome back to our Maine homestead. Today we're going to make a ginger bug. So this is going to be the first video of several that are kind of interrelated. We have been making kombucha for quite a while. We're going to do a video on kombucha making, how we do it. And we flavor it differently. I like mine different than Francesca does. That's just how it works out, obviously. So we've been doing that for a while. I've also recently made a batch of mead. We'll be doing a video on that. What I've done is I made a gallon batch of mead. I split it into 4 quarts. I flavored 3 of them differently, and then 1 of them I naturally fermented, so I did not add store-bought yeast or brewer's yeast or whatever you would use, champagne yeast, to it, which is going to be very similar to what we're doing today. And also we have just recently, I say we, Francesca has just recently made our first batch of cheese, or sheep cheese. She's been milking the sheep every morning, then she lets the babies have at their mamas during the day, and then we separate them at night. First thing in the morning she goes and milks them. And she has recently made a batch of sheep's cheese, so you'll be seeing that video probably before you see this one. So those are kind of the things we've had going on that are kind of related, so you'll be seeing that coming up. Today we're going to be making what is called a ginger bug. So if you don't know what a ginger bug is, the best way I can explain it, and I'll give you a lot more information on it as we go through the video, but it's similar to a sourdough starter. So if you don't know what a sourdough starter is what you make before you start making sourdough bread. Sourdough starter is naturally fermented, so right now you and I, as I'm talking, and you at home as you're watching, you're breathing in yeast. It's naturally everywhere in the environment. It's on everything. And so what the concept is to capture that yeast in whatever you're making. So that's how you make a sourdough starter. Once you get that fermentation process going in a sourdough starter or in a ginger bug, all you have to do is feed it to keep it going. You can actually, and I'll tell you how we do that with this, but you can actually refrigerate it, cool it down to a certain temp, and put the yeast to sleep. You kind of make them go dormant. It doesn't kill them. Once you warm them back up, they are right back active again and doing their job. So a ginger bug is the precursor to ginger beer. So once we make this ginger bug, which takes about 5 days, then I'm going to use part of what I'm making today and put it in the ginger beer, and that's actually the yeast. So instead of pitching a packet or part of a packet of yeast in your beer, which is ginger beer in this case, I will take out a portion, half to 2/3 of this that I'm making today, that is naturally fermented, that has no yeast added to it other than what naturally gets added from the environment, and I will take that, put it in my ginger beer, and that will cause the ginger beer to ferment, and that will be actually the yeast portion of the ginger beer. That's not what we're doing yet. Today we're going to make a ginger beer. It is very simple. It just takes a little bit of attention. So let's get started. I'm going to be using this crock that I actually got from my mom a long time ago. It's a very old ceramic crock, small. I don't need anything big for this. But I just thought, since we're naturally fermenting, I would use something that's semi-natural and you know, traditional in a sense. I like that kind of thing. So to make ginger bug, all you're going to do is take about a pint of water, 16 ounces, 500 mils, roughly the same thing. We'll pour that in our crock. Then we're going to add ginger. So it's approximately this much ginger. As I'll tell you what we're going to be doing, but I'll show you through the course of this video. You'll see about how much I chop to get a 1/4 cup of coarsely chopped ginger. One really important thing is do not peel it. Some people will want to shave off the peeling or the outer skin of the ginger just for cleanliness, who knows what. that is one of the major places where the yeast resides to make this ginger bug. So if you shave the ginger off, you're not going to get a very good fermentation. So if you shave the skin off, leave the skin on your ginger and then just chop it so that it is basically, you know, just small pieces. Doesn't have to be finely chopped. You don't want to grate it. You can, but there's no reason to. You want to leave it semi-intact, but also so that there's a lot of skin exposure in the water, in the liquid, so that helps start the fermentation process. So all you do is take a 1/4 cup of ginger. I will say this while you see me using my hands to put this in there. In this process, you want to be fairly clean. If you're brewing beer, especially modern beers, everything's sterilized, extremely controlled environment so that no bacteria or no unwanted organisms get in that situation. This is a natural type of process. This has been done for hundreds of years. We're not adding a yeast. We're not trying to make an extremely controlled beer. We want to make it be a natural beer. It may turn out to where it's a little different than what we wanted to start with, and then maybe you try again and it turns out totally different. That's how naturally fermented things are. So I did wash this crock very good. I did not wash the ginger. You don't really want to do that. That almost defeats the purpose by taking off a lot of the yeast, because I want what's naturally on that ginger to help process this. And then the last ingredient is 2 tablespoons of sugar. You can use white sugar. This is just brown sugar, which if you don't know what brown sugar actually is, it's sugar, white sugar, refined sugar with some molasses added in. That's what gives it the brown flavor. That's what makes it more moist typically than a white refined sugar. So anyway, I'm using a brown sugar. You can use any kind of sugar you would like. I will probably make another batch with white sugar just to see if it's different, you know, at some point in the future. But brown sugar and molasses, particularly, molasses is one of the ingredients traditionally that was used in ginger beer as the sugar. So this has a little bit of both, I guess. Not that it's going to make that much difference in this process. But anyway, 2 tablespoons of sugar. Let's get those out of the way. So you're basically done. Then I'm going to take my stick and stir it. So I'll tell you a little bit about using a stick. This is birch. Traditionally, birch is one of the woods that was used by the Vikings when they made mead. It's extremely interesting. But they would skin it down, make it into a stick, you know, that's practical for stirring. And then a lot of times they would carve runes or carve designs into the stick. The interesting part is, you can see I've roughly carved this. I don't have any designs in it yet. That may come at in some point in the future. You can see that there's gouges, and I haven't sanded it or anything. The purpose of carving the designs into it or leaving it natural, sometimes they would use a log or a stick, nothing done to it, and just put it inside their mead. Now I'm talking about mead, not this. But my point being, this stick is going to naturally have some yeast on it, and it's also going to naturally attract yeast. So as you use it over time, it's going to build up yeast populations in these crevices or in the designs that you carve into it. I just think that's extremely interesting. That's not necessarily part of this process, but it doesn't hurt. So I'm going to use it to stir this. So what do you want to do once you've added your water, your ginger, and your sugar? You want to stir it really good to dissolve the sugar. So we're just going to take it and do that. I will say, while I'm stirring it, if you are using not a clear container, so that something like this jar, so that you can see how far up the liquid comes once you've mixed everything together, you want to definitely make note. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want to make note of where the water comes up before you take any out. I'll tell you why. So as I'm stirring this, over stirring it maybe, I don't think you can do that. Part of what we're going to do, so this is the first day, so we'll call this day 1. On days 2, 3, 4, and 5, so for the next 4 days, we are going to add the same amount of sugar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and the same amount of coarsely chopped, unpeeled ginger, which will be about a 1/4 cup. That is about 30 grams of ginger, by the way. So a 1/4 cup weighs about 30 grams if you're doing metric. I don't know a lot of metric, so that's about as far as I get. But anyway, so for the next 4 days, we're going to add not any more fluid, not any more water. We're going to add, each day, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar and a 1/4 cup of chopped ginger. And then shake it. The other thing we're going to be doing several times a day, so I'll do it a couple or 3 times more today, and then at each time after you add that day's ingredients, you're going to stir it. I'll stir it several times today, but you want to stir it at least 3 times a day. Some people will have these devices, I don't know what they're called, but they're a little plate that vibrates, I guess, and you could put your vessel on that plate and you could leave it on there all day, and it will basically stir it and keep it mixing all day. That's perfectly fine. I don't have all day to stand here stirring it with my totem stick. So that's basically the process. I will show you what I'm going to do once I feel like it's probably pretty mixed. Should be dissolved. So we'll just all you're going to do now, leave it on the counter, leave it at room temperature, and you're just going to put some cheesecloth on it. That lets it breathe, that lets more yeast come in from the environment that will go through these holes, but it keeps anything else out, like fruit flies, whatever, anything from falling in there. Wherever you're doing this, there could be something up there about to fall into it. I will try to put a rubber band on here. Good enough? Yeah. Gonna leave it right there. See you back tomorrow. We will add the ingredients again. We'll do that for the next few days, and then we'll discuss what we're gonna do with it once we're done to make ginger beer. So it's day 2, time to feed the ginger bug. I'm not gonna bore you with days 3, 4, and 5, but I did want to touch on, like I said yesterday, I would give you a ballpark of about how much whole ginger it takes to make a chopped 1/4 cup of ginger. I measured the piece that I just chopped. It is 3 inches, or was 3 inches long, and 1 inch in diameter, so about that big in diameter. Obviously you can get your tape measure out, whatever, and about 3 inches long. That is about a 1/4 cup. Let's throw it in here. One thing I'll say about the ginger, I use organic ginger. There's several reasons. Number one, organic ginger is going to give you a stronger yeast population, and actually more of the yeast, which equates to stronger, I guess. But also it's going to avoid any of the harmful chemicals that might have been used if you're not growing, or wasn't grown organically. You know, those can affect taste, also can affect health, so you want to avoid that if at all possible. Yeah, so we're right at a 1/4 cup. That's exactly what you want. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our ginger bug that we started yesterday. One thing I will say, I referenced mead a little bit yesterday. This is not what we're doing, but I wanted to be sure I cleared it up. It definitely, a ginger bug can be used to start a mead fermentation, and is done so frequently. Anything that you start small like this to get the yeast population going and to get the fermentation process started, and then add to a larger batch, whether it's a ginger beer, a mead, or whatever, that can be beneficial to helping keep the fermentation process going, help keep the fermentation strong, but also help keep it from stalling. So that's definitely a possibility. I did stir this 3 more times yesterday after we started it, but there's the ginger, 1/4 cup of ginger, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then we're going to give it a good stir with the magic stick. I will see you back on day 5 to kind of wrap this up. So it's day 5. I've fed the ginger bug, given it a good stir, and now it's ready to use. Here's a shot of what it looked like before I messed with it this morning. You can see there's a lot of yeast activity, a lot of bubbling there, so it's definitely ready to use. So I'm planning on making ginger beer in the fire ring back there. It's pouring down rain, as you can see. Not going to happen today. I'm not sure. We'll see when it clears up. But the point is, if you're ready to use your ginger beer, go for it. If you've got an active fermentation like you saw, we had good bubbling, it's ready to use. If not, you can actually put it on hold, put it to sleep, make the yeast go dormant by taking out 1/2 to 2/3, refeeding it with the sugar and ginger, topping the water level back up to where it was before, and then putting it in the fridge. Depending on how long it's going to be before you're able to use it, you just need to feed it once a week going forward until you're ready to use it. Once a week meaning the same process. Take off 1/2 to 2/3, refeed it, top the water level back up, put it back in the fridge. That's all there is to it. Pretty simple and easy process. If you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like, we'd love for you to subscribe. Please leave us a comment in the comment section, and we'll see you soon.